When the first Ilarian ship entered Earth's orbit, humanity thought the age of miracles had come. The Ilarians called themselves children of the continuum, immortal beings woven from light, bone, and ancient technology. To them, humans were little more than clever animals, short-lived, emotional, irrational. And among the Ilarian envoys was Seren of the First Radiant, a being born from stellar cores, her veins carrying luminous plasma. She was beautiful, yes, but also dangerous. Every word she spoke hummed with authority, every movement perfect by design. When she arrived on the Europa research base, humanity's last stronghold before the Outer Rim, she met Commander Jalen Reese, a battle-scarred human soldier assigned as her liaison. Their first meeting ended in silence. Then hostility. "You smell of iron and fear," Seren said in her cool, melodic voice. "It's remarkable your species still believes it deserves to exist." Jalen stared back. "Funny. We were thinking the same about yours." For the next months, they worked side by side, reluctantly. Seren was tasked with analyzing human adaptation to alien climates. Jalen's role was to make sure she didn't sabotage the colony. They clashed on everything: philosophy, biology, even the concept of love. "You love like children playing with matches," she once said. "You burn so fast you forget what it's like to simply be." "And you," he replied, "live forever and never feel anything at all." Beneath the tension, though, there was something deeper, something neither wanted to admit. Seren watched how Jalen smiled despite exhaustion, how he treated the wounded miners and broken machines with the same gentle patience. It confused her. Immortals didn't understand compassion without logic, and he seemed made of it. One night, as Europa's ice plains glowed blue beneath the aurora, she found herself asking him, "Why do you care so much for a world that will never remember you?" He looked up from the datapad and smiled faintly. "Because that's what makes us human. Seren, we fight knowing time will forget us, but someone has to make the memory worth living." Something in her shifted that night. A faint vibration in the crystalline heart that no Ilarian had ever felt, and the immortal girl began to dream. Middle. The bonds that should never form months passed. The project grew dangerous. The terraforming reactors deep beneath Europa's crust began destabilizing, threatening to flood the colony in radiation. Jalen volunteered to fix the main conduit manually, a suicide mission in all but name. Seren confronted him as he prepared to descend into the reactor chamber. "You'll die if you go in there." "Maybe, but if I don't, everyone else will. You humans throw your lives away like broken tools." He smiled, even as his hand brushed hers. "Maybe that's why you envy us." She wanted to deny it, but the truth burned brighter than her own core. When Jalen stepped into the reactor tunnels, she followed him. The explosion that followed shattered half of Europa base. The ice melted for the first time in centuries, and when the survivors dug through the ruins, they found Seren kneeling over Jalen's unconscious body, her once luminous veins dim, her light fading. She had given up part of her energy to heal him, something no immortal Ilarian had ever done. When he awoke days later, she sat beside him, pale as moonlight. "You risked yourself for me," he whispered. Her eyes flickered. "I wanted to understand what it means to care for something that ends." He laughed softly. "Then I guess we're both idiots." From that day, their bond deepened, not through words, but through presence. She began to eat human food, though it weakened her. He began to learn her luminous language, though it nearly drove him insane. They worked together to rebuild the colony, and whispers spread, an immortal and a mortal working as one. The elders of Ilaria were not pleased. They summoned her holographically, their faces made of cold light. "You are dissolving, Seren. Your immortality phrase because you linger among the decaying. Return or perish. I won't leave him," she said. "Then you are no longer Ilarian." Her link to the continuum was severed that instant. Her veins stopped glowing. She felt time for the first time, the slow ache of mortality. And yet, she smiled. The awakening, the next years on Europa, were quiet. Jalen and Seren rebuilt the human research domes, living among a handful of survivors. He aged slowly. She didn't, at least not at first, but the cost of choosing him was steep. The decay she had once scorned began to creep into her. Her luminous eyes dimmed. Her voice lost the resonance that could calm storms. Her cells, once self-repairing, began to degrade. She tried to hide it from him, But Jalen wasn't blind. "You're dying," he said one night, holding her trembling hands. "I am living," she corrected softly. For the first time, he wanted to find a cure, to reconnect her to her people's network. But Seren refused. "I would rather have one lifetime beside you than 1,000 years alone among gods." They shared those years as if each sunrise was their last. Together they explored the frozen valleys, built gardens beneath glass, and sang beneath the auroras. Humans spoke of them in whispers, the soldier and the starborn, and yet something was missing. Seren began dreaming of a child, half human, half Ilarian. It was impossible by every law of biology. Her kind reproduced through energy replication, not birth, but she felt the instinct growing, ancient and undeniable. When she told Jalen, he stared at her in disbelief. "Seren, even if it were possible, you'd lose what's left of your immortality. Your core energy would burn out." "I know," she said, "but maybe that's the price of creating something that truly belongs to both worlds." He held her, trembling. "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking," she whispered. "I'm choosing." The sacrifice, it took years of research and stolen Ilarian technology. Serene built a chamber deep within the ice caves, a fusion of human genetics and Ilarian photonic code. The process would fuse part of her life essence with Jalen's DNA, creating a being neither human nor immortal. A bridge. On the night of activation, she stood beside him, her glow faint but serene. "Are you sure?" he asked again. "Jalen," she smiled softly, "you taught me that love isn't about forever. It's about now." The chamber filled with white fire as she stepped inside. Her body dissolved into radiant energy, flooding the containment core. Jalen screamed her name, but her voice came through the calm, gentle fading. "Don't grieve. I'll still be here, in every breath, in every light that touches you." Then the light vanished. The next morning, Jalen found a child cradled in the crystal chamber, a baby girl with faintly glowing eyes and soft human skin. When she cried, the ice walls shimmered as though the world itself mourned and rejoiced at once. He named her Lys, meaning light remembered. Serene was gone, but her energy lingered in the sky, woven into Europa's new aurora's ending. The child of 2 worlds years later, humanity returned to Europa. Jalen, now old and frail, was known as the man who loved an immortal. Lys grew quickly, learning faster than any human child. When she touched the frozen soil, flowers bloomed. When she sang, machines awoke. She carried both their legacies, the compassion of her father and the brilliance of her mother. One night, as Jalen lay beneath the stars, Lys asked, "Papa, where did Mother go?" He smiled weakly. "She became the light, sweetheart. Every time the sky dances, that's her watching over us." Lys looked up at the shimmering aurora. "She misses you." "I miss her too," he whispered. "But she gave us something she never had. A future." As he closed his eyes for the last time, the aurora above brightened, forming the faint silhouette of a woman made of stars. Her voice, faint and warm, echoed in the frozen air. "Well done, my love. You showed me what it means to live." Lys reached out, and for a moment her tiny hand touched the light. The next morning she was gone. No footprints, only a glowing trail leading into the horizon. Witnesses would later swear they saw 2 figures walking across the ice hand in hand, one human, one radiant, vanishing into the dawn. Epilogue. Legend of the Starborn centuries later, when humans and Ilarians finally formed their alliance, they told a legend of the Starborn child, the first bridge between mortality and eternity. They said she built new worlds where love didn't end with time, where beings of light and flesh lived side by side. And every year, when Europa's sky burned with ribbons of green and gold, lovers would whisper her parents' names, Seren and Jalen, the immortal who chose to die and the mortal who taught her how to live.